Hey guys, and welcome back to another YouTube video. Again, trying to make this one a little bit shorter as these recaps. One, I only watched about half of this game, and two, got stuff on to get to, so just gotta get these ones done. But next week the recaps will be a little bit more in depth, as I'll have not as much on, and I'll be able to watch these games more in depth. So yeah, this is the last one of the short ones. But anyway, yeah, this game was just really poor in the end. I know a lot of people will say, yeah, it was a good game, but in the end it was a 90-all draw, and Essendon are probably cursing themselves that even though their fans are probably like, oh, Brisbane's so far away with all the injuries, Adelaide, etc. It's going to come, looking at the schedules, if all pans out to what I think it will, it's all going to come down to, I think, a game or two that each team just needs to win. And so yeah, these two sides could easily, both by drawing, could easily have both end up on 50 points or 54 points in the end, and that could impact Essendon. So this game was almost the worst result that Essendon could ask for. But anyway, before we jump into this video, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload, and let's get into this recap. So Jordan Dawson, 118, he did really well, and his role, I need to check the CBAs because his role looked basically all right from what I saw briefly of this game. So I'm just going to check the advanced metrics and the CBAs for this draw and the sort of Dawson and what his role was. Advanced CBAs. Dawson was at only 16 of the 30 CBAs again, so not really having much of a role in the middle. And you did see Rankin with 10 CBAs, Soligo 21, Crouch 22, Laird 19. So that's an interesting watch there to see their dynamic there. I think they've got an alright dynamic, but I don't think it's game-breaking the amount that they've got. And Dawson sort of is just everywhere, to be honest with you, just looking at his heat map here. So yeah, that's an interesting one to look at. Just possessions, he's got, 4 touches in the defensive half, sort of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 within about 65 of his own goal, and then you've got sort of 6 in the center square, sort of another 5 on each wing, and then another sort of 4 about 60 or closer into his goal. So the forward half, the forward goal. So yeah, that's an interesting role, and I think his last quarter just sort of amplified. He's just a good scorer in general, just because he can absolutely rack up the stats. I mean, he had 27 touches with a 19-8 kick to handball, and then he had 4 marks, 7 tackles. He's a massive tackler as well, which sort of helps his score. Crouch a 117, and yeah, huge quarter for him in the last, a 39 to get a 117. So for those that held him, he's putting out scores as well. O'Brien, a 112, he had, and you'll just look at the hit outs here that he had in the end. He started off here, bang, 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 bang. There was something like 10 hit outs in the first sort of 3 minutes of the game. And you can just see here, he just amassed hit outs, a 112 for him. I think he had like 40 odd hit outs or something. Let me just double check that. 56 hit outs for Riley O'Brien. I think that's highest of the year. There was over 100 hit outs in the game. 101, 105 hit outs for the game. Just shows you how many there were. Laird 109, he got off to a flyer and then sort of held back a little bit. Rankin 104, an interesting one in fantasy. I don't know exactly what my trades are at the moment, but he's been considered there just because he can sort of have these runs, but also the fact that he needs goals to get there, it doesn't really fill me with confidence. Fogarty, Keys, Soligo, I think this is why you don't go for guys that have an L3, and this is why I'm sort of worried about the Rankin call. Just because Soligo, he had all the signs of being that guy that sort of breaks out, but then again, he doesn't really get that many sort of non-disposal points. If we look at his sort of underlying stats in general, Soligo here, it was only 4 tackles, no marks, 28 touches. So he had 28 touches, which is one of the best on the ground. It was sort of, 4th best on the ground? Sorry, 3rd best, tied 3rd best on the ground. Yeah, he gets 79 points, and everyone above him got at least plus 18 points on him, just because they were getting more non-disposal points. Like, you got Crouch with 13 tackles, and he had 28 touches, but Crouch went plus 38 on him. So just shows the difference Soligo needs if he wants to be a top 8, top 10, top 12 mid in fantasy. He needs to get those tackles up, and that's the reason why I didn't go for him. Is just I felt like it was just a good L3 or an all-right L3, and people were hunting way too much value. And his break-even is basically ruined now. Scholl, Himmelberg, and it's almost a trade out. Scholl, Himmelberg, Jones, Rochelle, 58. Rochelle's just going to be that consistent 60 guy, I swear. Just never really budging out of it. Has some flash a consistent 60 average per season type of guy. Has some 100 games, has some sort of 30 games, and just isn't really fancy relevant. Hinge, McHenry, Smith, Keane, Walker, Worrell, McElhaney, Cook, Butts, Nankervis, and Curtin out on an 8. We like to see this. We like to see this with Curtin because Curtin's average now is just destroyed, and that's what we like to see. And let me just bring it up here, because he is one that could be interesting next year, because currently he is averaging 38 through, that's Butts. I searched up Butts, but I wanted Curtin. How did I, here, 2 games for Curtin for 21.2 points, and we know 21.2 points is right on a 200 average. I reckon if they get him in the right position next year, 200 for Curtin could be interesting. Definitely a watch with him and just see how he goes. But if he has another couple of poor games and gets that average and gets it consistently low, a 200K for a second-year player who's got more development in him, potentially playing as that 3rd or 4th tool. I know we talked about it with Gibcus this year as well, sort of similar thinking behind that. Curtin could be interesting, and Curtin wouldn't have the injury of that Gibcus was having. Dunkley, 114, huge. Berry, 110. Again, he's been one that's really, really popped out. And I think for anyone that jumped on him, I mean, he did have a 52 last quarter, which did obviously help. But Berry has been pretty damn good in the last sort of 3 to 4 weeks. If we look at his scores, he's gone 112, 120, 117, 85, 131, 110. That is what you want out of a guy. And his last 5 are a 113. If anyone somehow picked him up, fair bloody play, because he has been one of the better. He's been the knockout blow type of player that if you somehow jumped on him, and you're up there in the top rankings, then you've got almost a keeper for about like 600k or whatever it was. McInerney, 109, Zorko, 109 as well. I'm glad that I jumped on him in Supercoach. I think he went 117 in Supercoach, something like that. Almost won my matchup just based off Zorko going large. And I needed I think it was the Dacos free kick at the end sort of stuffed my matchup, and Zorko not having the greatest third quarter. If he had a good third, I would have been absolutely on for winning my matchup in Supercoach in a public league, which was, the guy just went nuts in a public league, which I was surprised about. Payne, 98, McCluggage, 97, Archie, Fletcher, Cameron, Neal. All these guys, really, the weird thing about Brisbane, they don't have much relevance. And I think the way that Brisbane is going to win games this year is just by controlling the ball and getting Zorko, Dunkley, even Berry to a certain extent, Hugh McCluggage, even Archie, Fletcher's been a good one as well to watch break out, I guess. And it will get sort of Neal as well as sort of Sharp as well. All these guys will get a lot of the ball. So, it'll be interesting. I wish that we had an offset of 1 game for like Harry Sharp and Rebel so that they played their first this week. As a lot of these guys for Brisbane have played 2 games. So their Supercoach break even sort of on the bubble is this week. So a lot of choices this week. I wish they'd only played 1 game because I sort of already have my locked-in guy. I'm getting Sullivan, and sort of that means that none of these guys are much relevance to me. But I wish they had a couple games on 1 game so that the next week I could bring them in, etc. Not really anyone fancy relevant, to be honest with you. Sharp is already in the 400s, I believe. Let's just check. 477, so no fancy relevant. Revel did really well at 259, and I didn't think he'd do that. But he's sort of that guy that's sort of similar to Seth Campbell, is going to not really have much of a relevance, I would say, after a couple weeks. So yeah, he'll get up to 350k or so and then just not really do much. Lohman, 52, so the show encompasses that. He's up at like 480, I would think. Is he? Let's just see if it will load. 457k, and he's starting to drop as well. No, he actually isn't. But yeah, you sort of see that happens. And then Wilmot 40 again. He's really not taking that role well. I think he's up on a wing now potentially, or maybe a lockdown defender. But his scoring I thought would increase, and it hasn't. But anyway, I thought I'd try and keep this one short, but ended up going pretty long. But just sort of showing that Saliga was not a good call for those that went for him. Some people also went for other guys as well that were sort of going to score in the 70s as well. These sort of high value, well, what would perceive as high value because they're 700k and have an L3 of sort of 100, whereas you go the historical guys every time. So yeah, this was a game that was just weird in the end, and I don't think had too much fancy relevance. I mean, Dunkley's a guy we'd probably want to target post-buy, but 989k going to be tough to get up to him. Berry, McInerney, Zorko, pain. Yeah, like Zorko's another guy you probably want to target if he can hold out on his legs. But yeah, that pretty much is the video there and all the game reviews for the round, and I guess I will see you guys for Tuesday's sort of fantasy round review, I guess, for the team. And then also, yeah, Tuesday just has the one video, I think, and then the cash cows and trade targets on Wednesday. And then Thursday we have the usual 3, and then the cash cows and trade targets will be the last one that actually is filmed in, could be slight darkness, as I'm back to filming those on Wednesday in the coming week. So yeah, that'll be a good one as well, just sort of freeing up everything. But anyway, that is the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.